Today we are sitting with Mr. Swamitra, who is currently working at Xylem and have experience in user experience design of 10 years. So I think we all can gain a lot from his experience. So people who are interested in user experience or maybe user interface design can learn a little bit from him, and you can also get to know if you should be entering this field or not, or if it's going to be affected by AI or whatever. So I would like Mr. Swamitra Singh to introduce himself so he can give a better perspective and shed light on it.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Swamitra Singh. I've been working as a designer for past 10 years in different companies. I've spent most of my time in Bangalore, but I've lived in different cities. Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us briefly how was your experience in user experience was? 10 years is a big difference. You must be considered as a veteran in this field and kind of an expert. I think you should be the person who should be telling us should we enter in this field or not. But first I would like to know how is this field and what you need to enter in this field. What were your prerequisites?
So when I started working as a UX designer, I was not always a UX designer. When I started my career, I was a graphic designer and I learned Photoshop and some other tools. But basically I was working for raster images, not vector images. I was editing photos of cars. But slowly I got a chance to work on a software for the company that I was working for, and I started working on a web application. And in that application, I had to talk to employees, my team members, and try to understand what sort of challenges they were facing. And based on those inputs, I started creating that web application, and that was a very good, I think, kind of an initiative that I took, and it was helpful. So from there I started understanding how software works, how the design works, what is a framework, how to use a framework to build a software, and also I started understanding all these terminologies. And at some moment I saw some article about UX and UI. From there I think I got interested into this field and how useful it is, and I read a lot of articles, try to understand how it works and everything. So I think at that moment I decided that I want to become a UX designer, because my skill set was designing, but I also had a lot of coding knowledge.
Okay.
Right, I also understood a lot of coding from that web application that I was working on. So in that web application, when I started working on that, I understood a lot of things, and then from there I decided that UX is the field where I can apply both design and development knowledge. And I think from there I decided that UX is the way to go.
Okay. So can you explain the audience what is the difference between vector images and raster images? Because I personally do not know what they are, and I think
okay. So I think we are going into a lot of technicality, but just for the basic understanding, when you capture an image using any camera, like these phones, all these pixels are captured in the phone, and all that image is shown using some number of pixels, right? So the image that is shown using pixels, that is called a raster image.
Okay.
Right? And then there is a concept of vector image, like scalable vector graphics, SVG, and then you can create those images using Illustrator.
Okay.
So the basic difference between raster and vector is that vector images can be scaled to whatever size you want, but
okay.
Raster images you cannot scale.
Yeah.
You need to add a lot of pixels if you are going to scale it.
The pixels may destroy if you try to extend the raster image,
Yes.
but it's not same in the case of SVGs.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so the next question is, can you explain how this field of UX works and what should be the ideal approach, or maybe your ideal approach towards a person who is entering this field, and what should be the like basic requisites? It should he be interested in design, like arts, or just interested in thinking about things from the very fundamentals? So what's the prerequisite of it?
Okay. I think there is no right approach. First of all, there is no right approach. I'm not an expert, definitely. I'll say only 10 years. I have only 10 years of experience.
Okay.
If you want to be an expert in this field, you need like 20 years going to the right direction. I've seen people working with the wrong technique for maybe 10 years, and you cannot call them a UX designer.
Okay.
Even they call themselves UX designer. You cannot call them UX designer because they are not following the process.
Of course.
And definitely there is no standard process.
Yeah.
There is a high level process, but every designer has to adapt. Everyone has to understand how to work. Right? Everyone will have their own way of solving problems. So I will say this field is interesting for those people who are more into problem solving, right? Problem solving, understanding people, understanding their behaviors, understanding how things work, right? Rather than making money.
Yeah.
Money comes with it.
Yeah.
The main part is that you have to be very interested in those things, like critical thinking. Critical thinking is very important. You cannot think about a problem from one perspective. You have to think from like so many different perspectives.
Of course.
So, and breaking down problems into smaller problems. So lot of different ways to solve these problems, but very important part is problem solving. You have to have that. And then art, I will say you don't have to be an artist. Art is one part of it. UX is like an umbrella field which has different things, right? There is business side of it, there is art side of it, there is problem solving side of it, development side of it, even research part of it. So many different fields. That's why you will see a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds will come to the UX field. I have seen people spending 10 years in journalism and then they come to UX field as a researcher, because user research is also part of like talking to people, understanding, right? I have seen developers joining UX. I have seen designers definitely join UX. Business analysts, they will join UX. So there is no limit here. You can come from any background. So it not only art.
Get it. So what was the thing that got you in UX design? I mean, what was the philosophy behind? Have you put any kind of deep thoughts into it, or you were like, okay, a little spontaneous that this could be a field of future, and let's switch the domain, and this seems interesting. Okay, so both could be the case, but what was your approach, and why were you convinced that this is a good field?
I was talking about this same thing, right? So when I was working for the first company, but then I also had knowledge of coding, and then there is a unique problem in that company. From the operations perspective, so I had to create a application that could solve that problem using design, using coding, and also talking to people. So all these three things came together to create that, and I think that is the core of UX. When you are a UX designer, you have to talk to users, you have to understand their perspective, you have to understand business problems. What kind of business problem? You have to understand users' problem, pain points. You have to understand the constraints in the development, right? How people interact. You have to understand how people will interact. You have to understand what are the standards of interacting, right? Interacting with an application or interface. So once you understand all those things, you become a UX designer. So at that point, I learned all those things, and from that point, I think this was the right direction to move forward. I was able to apply all my skills. I was not leaving anything. I was using my design skills, I was using my coding skills, I was using my problem solving skills, talking to people. I was using all those. So that's why I think I was really happy when I moved to this field.
Okay, so that was the point when you diverged from your previous field to this field, and you were kind of leaning towards us because you could actually apply all your knowledge into it. And sometimes we have some talents, but we cannot exactly apply it in the field we are working or the job we are doing, right? So I think, yeah, I can understand totally why you switched to this field, and probably that's why you are working in this field for 10 years, because you are a person who really applies and polishes his skills, right? So I wanted to ask about the future of UX design, because so many people after large language models are concerned about this field may obsolete over time. So what's your approach to it? What's your perspective about is it going to be totally replaced by AI, or is it just it's just a tool which is going to enhance your skill? AI will only polish and help the person to leverage their skills to other people, but it won't totally obsolete. What's the
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I have seen lot of articles. I have seen it, and
I have also seen it.
Sorry.
I have also seen so many reels talking about why
Yes.
UX will end.
So Instagram post, LinkedIn post, podcast, articles. I've seen a lot of media talking about this thing that AI will take over jobs, especially in UX field. And my initial thought was that definitely AI is not going to take any kind of job. But now after the ChatGPT and ChatGPT 4, the kind of answers it generates, right? It's very meaningful, and you can ask a lot of complex queries and it will give you some answers definitely, and it will be useful. So there's no doubt. But at the same time, once you start using it and try to understand how you can apply it to your job, you see that what's the problem. Because UX is not about a straightforward process that do this and done. There is no straightforward process. First, if you are, let's say, as a UX designer, you have to create an application or some sort of application which will be used by people in some factory, right? In a factory, there's a lot of production happening. Let's say tires. So a factory, MRF factory, it is producing tires, and then people are sitting there making sure that tires go on time, right? So imagine that factory's capacity is 50,000 tires a month. So if you are working in that factory, part of your job would be to make sure that 50,000 tires are going out of that factory every month. That's your part, right? So if there are 10 people working, collectively their job is to understand the process, find out if something is not working, why it's not working, eliminate that issue, and then keep the process going on. Now, lot of applications can be used in this. So every person who is sitting in the factory, they will have a system, and they'll be sitting in front of that system. They'll see all the sensors, all the readings. They'll keep monitoring it, right, 24/7. And if you have to create a application for that, like a person sitting in a factory, he has to make sure the tires is going on time, operations are running smoothly. If you have to create that application, then you cannot rely on AI, large language models, right? You have to talk to that person, what he is doing, why is he doing it, how does his day look like, how does he interact with the system, what kind of problems is he facing, what does he have to do throughout the day or throughout the month, what kind of reports he has to generate. So you cannot ask these questions to a ChatGPT 4 or GPT-5 or whatever comes. Maybe that version will have those answers, but not exactly accurate.
Yes.
Right? It can give you a generalized answer that operations will work like this and tires will be manufactured like this, and this user he can look at this and that. But if you want to really, make a big impact in the software development of this application, and you want your product to succeed in the market,
Hmm.
right? Then you have to make it useful for the users. You cannot rely on some GPT-4. I'll give you another explanation. Maybe let's say you asked GPT
Mhm.
and it gave you some answers,
Okay.
and then you created your whole software based on those answers.
Mhm.
And now when you try to sell this application to the factory workers or the supervisors or the directors of those factories,
Hmm.
they will say, this is not what I want,
Mhm.
right? And this is a risk.
Mhm.
50% chances that your product could be sold. Like they say that, yeah, it's fine, I can use it. 50% chances it's not successful because your research, your answers are coming out of a AI model.
Mhm.
It's not a reliable information.
Mhm.
How will you make sure it's reliable?
Mhm.
And part of product management is to make sure that there is no risk,
Hmm.
right?
Of course.
So relying on an AI model, large language model, online articles to do your user research, you are adding risk to your product success,
Of course.
which is against what a company wants, which is against product success. So I think relying on these kind of models is definitely going to add lot of risk
Hmm.
to a product.
Hmm.
And if you want to be a successful designer, you should not be doing that.
Okay, of
Right.
course. Yeah. So I personally see it as how to say it, that the person who's sitting on the other side, if it's an AI, it cannot take accountability for it, right? And when we don't have accountability, let's say a UX designer or a factory worker does not do his job correctly, we can fire him. Okay, if he messes things up, we can fire him, but we cannot do the same with AI. So because we can't exactly do that with AI, all we can do is error correction to a certain extent. It's not we cannot rely on him. We can always say, when let's say somebody's working in finance and managing our funds, we can also blame him and tell him that, okay, this is a thing that you have done and you are responsible for it. So part of it, like, because we humans only trust the people with whom we can talk to and interact with, and somebody who can take accountability, like a manager. That's why I think most probably the AI won't be a manager, because manager has to be partly scary, partly friendly, I think. So he can be a mix of both, but AI cannot be scary at that same time, be friendly. So at the end of the day, he cannot be physically in fight with you, or I don't know. I'm not saying that every manager has to be in fight with his employees, but partly seeing that person in a physical body gives you this accountability thing, that he may ask me question and you are taking a responsibility because of that thing, right? So yeah, I get it. So the next question is like, what do you think that AI will impact specifically in UX? Like, what's the part of UX which is going to be affected most by AI, and who cannot have a secure job in, who is working in UX design? Okay, whose job is at risk firstly?
So, as I explained, there is no. If you are a good UX designer and if you want to build a successful product, you are not. You should not be relying on AI, because AI is a collective knowledge of all the people on internet. But AI does not represent the user that you are targeting, right? So suppose you are building an application for me, and you are asking questions to an AI. Those AI doesn't know who I am, right? AI doesn't know how I work, right? So if I am doing my job 24/7, or maybe 9 hours per day, I'm doing something and then going home, and this is how I work, right? So I have some decision making skills, I have some sort of skills, right? AI doesn't know how I will work, basically, right? AI can tell you how I will work on the very generic model, like, okay, this guy, he wakes up in 9:30, he reaches that office by 10, and he works on some designs, right? And then he uses Figma to create the designs, and he will share it, the Figma link, with developers, and developer will code using React framework, and then they will publish the code, and it's available to the customers.
That's what I'm saying.
It will tell you that, right? But when it comes to me exactly doing that, how I am doing this, AI cannot know this, right? And as a designer, your job is to find out those exact moments where the gap is in your knowledge. So I'll ask you this question now. So now you suppose you are a UX designer,
Okay.
okay, and there is a company Adidas, and they have a shoe factory, okay, and then all these operations are running there. You have to create an application for them, for their factory. Where will you start?
First, I'll just have a visit at the factory. I'll look what is actually going on in the factory, and after like looking what is happening, I'll go and talk to people first. Okay, interact them, and then if that factory has any kind of data regarding their workers, I'll look into it and see what's the efficiency and effectiveness of those workers there, and that would be my first approach, like human interaction.
So do you think AI can do this right now?
I think not directly. He cannot go and.
Right answer is no.
Yes.
You can say
Yes.
there are workarounds, but AI cannot do that unless there are robots who are going to the factories and asking. Even
Of course.
people will not give you the right answers to robot.
The closest thing that we can do is feed data and tell this is the like Excel sheet of the data, but it lacks the human interactiveness.
It's not that. See, gathering data about users
Hmm.
is not about asking how much do you like this screen.
It's not just about numbers, right?
It's not numbers, not at all numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers work when you have an application or a software which is being used by millions of people. But now you don't have any control on that. Already millions and billions of people are using that application software. Now you cannot talk to like billion people, right?
Yeah.
You have to rely on numbers.
Okay.
I made this change. Now because of this change, out of 10 million, 2 million left. What's happening with Disney right now, right?
Yes, of course.
So Disney losing customers because of some kind of decisions that they made.
Yeah.
So from the UX perspective, if your application is being used by let's say 50 million people, and because of your design decisions, 2 million or 3 million people left, that means you made some bad choice.
Yes.
Right. But then when there is a very specific market, you have only 100 or 200 or 1000 people, then you can directly talk to them, find out what they use, how did the user, why are they doing what they are doing, and then understand all their context and take those design decisions based on that data. So there are different kind of research techniques, right? So you have to decide both these techniques before you even start doing anything. But what I'm saying is AI cannot do this.
Okay.
Right? If you are thinking that we have this tool which can create a screen, right? People will tell me. I've seen YouTube videos and all that. Once there will be some guy who will say that, oh, there is a food ordering apps and I can create it using AI, right? But part of the UX designer job is not always to create a food ordering app, right? There are hardly chances where you are creating a food ordering app. It's like there is no point in doing that. Your main job would be much higher level, right? You will be designing operational dashboards, strategic dashboards, reporting systems, right, for plants. Those kind of high level jobs. It's food ordering and Paytm, understand, like there is a very simple flow nowadays. Order, select, order, add, pay, that's done. Now we have very defined patterns. AI maybe can create that. But the actual part of UI designer is not to do that. You still have to do the user research, you still have to talk to them, find out if they are lying, right? It happens a lot of times. I think main part of UX designer job is to ask people questions and find out if they are telling the truth.
Okay.
And if they are giving you some sort of vague answers, dig deeper.
Yes.
Ask more questions. Understand why they are saying what they are saying.
And probably like sometimes it might be you might be observing that people are unknowingly telling you the wrong thing, like when their answers are not correct, but they think that their answers are correct because they are convinced towards that, right? So yeah, and the problem with that I personally feel with large language models are, so as you just said, that they are trained on large human data sets. Those data sets have so many biases itself, right? So not every company can clean that bias perfectly. Of course they are working on it. So that bias will remain there, and the data sets which are available for some particular field, for example, let me tell you my experience, like partly that I was using Bard for writing a research, okay, and for writing that research, when I looked for the research papers, it suggested me a research paper which is not even published. So that is a very big thing, and I mean, like, because I was thinking that Bart would be very specific with research papers and might be very good with it, so I didn't encounter that kind of problem in GPT, like Chat GPT. But of course, like when I was using Bard, I think I just got annoyed after a time, and I was like, okay, I'm not using this software again. So kind of like, I think that might be a downfall of Google. Who knows? Okay, because the search engine market now will be replaced by the market of GPT users, right? Now we have AI in Snapchat. I was recently seeing this AI which was shown by my friends, which you can tell the data about that you are studying, and it will ask you question as a teacher, and so you can prepare for exams. So you are coming up with these things, and there are so many limitations of the kind of data they are trained on, right? For example, my roommate, who is a radiologist, he asked me a radiology question, and I thought this GPT would be easily able to answer it, and it was Bing, and it wasn't able to answer that. So there are surely so many limitations on it. It's just people who use these techniques in regular everyday life, like we look for a very small generalized answers. In those it is fine, but when you go for a very specific thing, you need research, okay? You need to go and dig into books. You need to read research papers probably, and it won't be answered by GPTs very easily. I think it can help you explaining those research papers probably in future, but no, I mean, for sure, I don't even think with the current pace of technology, not the pace, but I'll say what we have currently, I don't think so it will be able to do everything, right? So yeah. So the next thing that I would like to ask you was related to the psychology. What kind of psychology you look for working in UX? For example, my question is, do you see the UX that you're designing, the Figma or whatever you're designing, through a third person perspective, and see that okay, this is how he is going to feel while using it, and what's the things that you keep in mind about the person's psychology that help you in designing a particular UX?
Okay, so now I see the direction in the psychology is going there, but so I personally, my personal thing is that I don't think about these concepts now, right? Initially, when you are studying about UX and what UX is and how it affects people and why people do what they do, right? Like, for example, you will see that an application has a primary action and a secondary action all the time, right? You will say okay, cancel buttons, yes, no buttons, and yes will be prominent. It will be like with a dark background and white text. The second button would be with a white background and colored text, right? So if you want to understand why people choose to click on yes rather than no, if you present them with this kind of a layout where yes has a dark background, white, no has a white background, they'll more click on yes. So why they are doing that, if you want to study that, then you have to go to that psychologies and why people are doing this and all that. Similarly, there are different concepts. You will see some concepts about Gestalt's law of grouping.
Okay, what is it? Can you explain?
It basically, I will tell you the basics. Like, if you see two things together near each other, your brain will say that it's a group. They are in a group.
Okay.
Like, if you see three icons on a screen together, you will think it's a group.
Okay.
If they are scattered, you will say they are individual. They are not connected.
Oh.
Even though there is no logic
behind that.
It's just the proximity.
Yeah.
Right. Similar colors. So if you see three sentences, so there are 10 sentences. In those three are in the same color. You will think that they belongs to the same context. Maybe it's errors, or maybe it's a highlight from a lecture. There is no point in thinking about this, but brain thinks like this.
Yeah.
It's basically the basic of all these concepts is pattern finding.
Okay.
So our brain always tries to find pattern, meaning behind something unusual. So from the first example where you see three icons together and you think is a group, so your brain asks a question why they are together.
Yeah.
Right. So then your brain immediately thinks it's a group, even though it's not a group.
Yeah.
Your brain thinks it's a group. Similarly, in the 10 sentences example, if you see three sentences with the same color, you will think it's the same context. Nobody told you it's the same context, but your brain will immediately think about those. Immediately, it will get to this conclusion that it's from the same group, or it's the same meaning, or it's the same context.
Okay.
There is no logic. Nobody told you.
Yeah.
So these are biases.
Yeah, cognitive biases.
Cognitive biases.
Yeah.
Right. So when the biases study started, there were less, but now we have almost 150 biases clinically identified already, and there are a lot of books on this.
Yeah.
Right. So when I was early in my career earlier, when I was like 4 years experienced, I was reading all this. But now, like fog behavior model or Kano's model, there are so many different models you can study to understand why people do what they do. But now in my day-to-day job, I don't apply these principles, because now I'm very natural into this. Like I don't have to think before applying.
So basically you are doing that, but you are not doing it consciously.
Yes.
Somewhere or the other, it's now back in your mind. It's obvious.
So I'll say it's like industry-defined patterns now. It's part of industry-defined patterns.
Okay.
Like if you see Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Instagram, all these, you will find that interactions are very similar. Yes, no buttons are very similar. Login screens very similar. Registration, OTPs, reading OTP. All these interactions have become very standardized in all the applications. So all the companies are following the same principle. So you don't have to think about it a lot. Now the main part about the UX is to find the user research. It's not about finding interaction patterns. Interaction patterns were unknown when it was like 1990s or 2000.
Okay.
Right. Even nowadays, even some people don't know, but in 2005, 2010, people didn't know about these interaction patterns. It was not very well established.
Okay.
But now, most of these development frameworks and companies, they have defined these interaction patterns, and you don't have to even do anything. Like, don't even think. You can just Google it. Like, I am looking for this kind of a pattern. Search. You will find some examples, and you will get it. So you don't have to think from that perspective now, like why should I do this, why should I do that.
Yes.
It saves you a lot of time actually.
Okay. So as you just said that these findings were new in 2005, can you tell us about the history of this field a little bit? Like how it started, where it started, who started it, and like these basic things.
Okay, so I don't remember, I'm not good with history. Okay, but I can tell you this much, that it was started by Don Norman, who coined the term user experience.
Okay.
He coined a lot of terms, but this was one. So he started thinking about this, and he has also written a book called Design of Everyday Life.
Okay.
I think that's the title.
Okay.
Design of Everyday Things.
Okay.
Right. So he explains how the door works. There is a very special case study called Norman's doors. So if you read about Norman's doors, why people find it confusing to even enter a room. So if you see a door, lot of people get confused, should you pull it or push it? Right? So people have to hang a lot of big signs on the board saying push or pull.
Okay.
Right? So why can't you create a door which is easy to understand that you can push it and pull it? Right? So that's the case study that he conducted, Norman's doors.
The design of everyday things.
Yeah, so it is also described in that. And then he also talked about a kettle he found in a hotel. And then that kettle was so good in the thing that it does.
Yeah.
So he explained about that kettle. So you can read about that book. It's a very nice, famous book.
I think that was kind of the approach of Steve Jobs, right? I mean, when he found that that MP3 player they were developing in Apple back then. So the first thing he said, make it smaller. When they said it cannot be smaller, he threw that in a fish tank, I guess. And when the bubbles start popping out from it, he said it does have space. So now you can make it smaller. So I think maybe design thinking was the approach of Steve Jobs, because whatever we use in our daily life, which were created by or started by Steve Jobs, like the iPhone or something like this iPod, right? So these all were like great designs. Now we are so much addicted to mobile phones that now we can realize that how great this design is. Earlier when there were like buttons all over it, so it used to be a big issue. But I think it was developed for the people working in this or lying in hospital who cannot move their body that much and push a button, but they can use their finger skin. So that kind of machine were built for the patients, but now we use it in every day, right? So yeah, that's the design of everyday things. So yeah, that's cool. So I want to lean more in the psychology part now. So I want to ask, like, how would you approach a problem? Let's say I told you that I want to make an application, an addictive application, okay, which is a social media based addictive application. Of course you have to make it more like so people can come back to it again and again. And the main feature of that application is that it shows you short videos of 30 seconds or 1 minute hardly, something like Instagram, of course. So it does that, the same thing. How would you approach that, and how would you make it so people can face no resistance while coming towards this particular technology or using this application?
So I don't have any experience in social media, definitely. Like I've never worked on some applications which are used by millions of people.
Okay.
And I have always been against this kind of industry where you actually make addiction for people.
Can you elaborate this thing a little bit, that what happens in these industries, what are their goals, and like how do you see it, how you perceive this?
It's the thing everybody knows, right? People, I see even today, I see people spending 5 hours, 6 hours of their day, 9 hours, even 10 hours of their day on phones.
Yeah.
Right. I see people using their Instagram, scrolling for hours without thinking. Right. And I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody, but in my opinion, there can be a better way for everybody to spend their time. Right. You should not be looking at notifications and Instagram stories all your day.
Yes.
And wasting your time. Even if you try to, you can spend the same amount of time reading books.
Of course.
But you will not. Because that book doesn't give you reward immediately. Right? Nowadays life is so fast that you want happiness
short-term
within minutes.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't get happiness within minutes, you will get bored and you will try to find it, because these apps have have made you like this, right? You open any application, you will feel good.
Hmm.
You will find some story, you will feel good,
Hmm.
and now that has become an addiction for you.
Yes.
So even if you try to replace it with something else, it will be really hard.
Hmm.
So I am against this. That's why I have stopped all the notifications. I have blocked all the notifications. You cannot completely ignore it.
Of course.
Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, you cannot. LinkedIn, I think it's not into that category. It's not addiction,
Hmm.
but still, I see a lot of people
Getting
posting some kind of like Instagram
Yeah.
kind of content on LinkedIn now. I don't know.
And
why.
I also personally know people who actually, they are so addicted to LinkedIn that let's say they posted their job update and nobody liked it. They are very much annoyed by that fact that nobody saw their post, or maybe they don't get that much importance in it, right? So yeah, I can see that same pattern working in LinkedIn also.
Yes. So that's the part I hate. All this IT and all this technology is here to solve our problems, not create more problems.
Yeah.
And these money making machines like Facebook and Google
Mm-hmm.
and Instagram and all that,
Mm.
they are just trying to make billions out of your time.
Mm.
That's what they are trying to do.
Mm.
They are trying to take all your time, all your data, all your attention,
Mm.
and make billions, right? And but what are they giving you in return? Nothing.
Mm.
So that's why I am against it.
Okay.
People wasting. If you're let's say if you're awake 14 hours a day and you are spending 7 hours on a phone, you are spending 50% of your life
Mm.
on phone.
And what it would look like in the span of 50 years, right? So you wasted kind of 25 years of your waking time
On phone.
on phone.
So that's why I'm against it.
Understandable, right? But right now it has become inevitable to not use phone, kind of, where there are very few people who do not use phone. To be honest, I also want to live in a world where I don't have to check my phone sometimes of the day. Like for example, a few days goes by where I just do not check my phone or open it, okay? And that would be something very rewarding. And I hope in that case I won't have a like cyborg or a kind of meta glasses on my head. So yeah, I think you get the point. But I totally agree that instant gratification has become so common nowadays that delayed gratification is for like very rare. It's kind of become a rare thing, right? People cannot wait. They don't have patience right now. If you look at the like applications such as Blinkit, what they do is basically somehow like we have to step out earlier. When we were like kids, we all had to step out to buy something. But now, let's say now you don't want to step out. Now you can just sit in your room, order the daily groceries also, and somebody will deliver that to you. So I'm not saying it's wrong. Of course, like I have used it, and I think so in times of emergency when you don't have time, you are like okay with it. But all these applications which are making life easier, somehow they are also taking some important core principles of human, right? Like for example, interacting with people. So when you go out and buy groceries, it's very different than like work just clicking two buttons, right? And similar thing is with I think that thing that you said about social media, what they are giving in return. I think some social media platforms give you kind of value, but the thing that the user has to understand, it is infinite. If you just keep scrolling it, you will be in a loop of scrolling when you are scrolling infinitely for nothing. So we all do it every day, so it has become so common, but we do not understand it very keenly, I think. And that is a big issue that we have to look at. For example, when I go on Instagram, I hardly use Instagram, but when I go on it, I get reels about how to make films. So it's kind of a hobby passion for me, and like the videos I get are very valuable to me, but I cannot sit there and scroll and do nothing, so it will be invaluable. So I think partly I do not say that these social media companies are evil, even though yes, they do manipulate it, that they do manipulate human beings so they can be addicted to it, and they make things such as you don't even leave it, which is kind of evil in that way. But I'll say there's a thing that users should understand. There's something like user responsibility. When you buy a product, you have to read the instructions on it, right? So it's that kind of thing. So
I will just because you mentioned it now,
Mm-hmm.
I will, and you are justifying why you should.
No, not
it's
justifying.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You are
No, no.
justifying why reels are good for you and valuable, right?
Yes. Yeah, kind of. I mean, not exactly.
I will just. I'm trying to find the loophole.
Okay. Sure. Go on.
So now you are saying that I open reels and I'll see some video making reels. Like it will help me understand how to make a reel, how to make a video, and
Yes.
you can make a video now, right? But
But I think quantity also matters. Like,
it's okay, I understand. But my point is that from the UX perspective,
hmm.
I'm coming from the UX perspective. I'm not saying that you should see. I'm not here to judge you. You
Of course.
can use reels how much you want, but from the UX perspective, think from the features perspective,
Hmm.
right? UX, the core principle of UX is users needs.
Hmm.
UX itself means users experience,
Hmm.
right? You cannot build an experience without users,
Of course.
right? Now, Instagram and reels.
Hmm.
When you open a reel,
Hmm.
can you tell me next time when you open Instagram reel, you open an app, Instagram,
Hmm.
and then you click on reel,
Hmm.
what kind of content will you see? Can you tell me right now?
No.
You
I-
cannot tell me because there is no justification.
Yes.
Why are you opening that reels you yourself don't know,
Of course. 100%.
right?
Of course.
It's all about finding that.
Hmm.
So Instagram reels feature is not built on users needs.
Hmm.
It's there to addict you.
Okay. Make it more addictive.
well,
to
very basic logic from UX logic. Now I can explain you why it's addictive.
Yeah. Please go ahead, sir.
I told you it's if you click on reels,
Yes.
you cannot predict
Hmm.
what kind of content you will get. For example, if I open Naukri.com,
Hmm.
I know that there are job applications. It will help you,
Okay.
it will help you find jobs,
Okay.
right? If I open LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
and I go to jobs,
Mm-hmm.
I will know there is jobs.
Okay.
If I open Amazon
Okay.
and I go to clothes section,
Mm-hmm.
I know there are clothes.
Yeah.
If I open Instagram, click
Yeah.
on reels,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything.
Okay.
So why was this feature built?
To make you more addictive.
Yes.
Right. So.
There is no, that's what I'm saying. Can you even find a loophole in this logic? You cannot. There is no way to explain this behavior.
From a company's perspective and a moral ground, I think you're right. But I think in between this thing only, a lot of people find their market. Okay, and this is not from a perspective of company. Of course, what you said is 100% right. There's no loophole kind of thing in it, but that they are trying to make us addicted to that application for their benefits. But the people who create shorts, like let's say a valuable short on filmmaking, okay, actually gave me value in 60 seconds. And because I am using that application to watch that kind of content, I search for that kind of content, I know kind of that there's a certainty that the algorithm might show. I'm not sure like on which reel it will be specifically, but I may get the value from it. So there's a gap in market and the consumer.
My question is, why are you clicking on reels?
Because I want to watch reels, right?
You want to watch reels.
I want to get entertained.
Is
And
there any need?
of course, there's no need. I mean,
Why are you clicking?
so there's very less resistance. So okay, so the basic pattern of the person who's clicking on reels is he goes at his home tired.
You explain your perspective.
Yeah,
Why
that's what
why
I'm
do you click on reels? Don't say basic person. Don't say that. You
let's
say
see. Let's see. Okay. First of all, I disabled my Instagram and I hardly use it. I mostly deactivate it because for the purpose that you said, and of course, like because I'm aware of it, I won't do that. But let's say I have activated my Instagram for 1 week. The first thing that would be okay. If I'm going to the basic account of it, I'll first of all open the application when I'm tired or mostly having food. Okay, so I think most of the people right now cannot watch it, sit and just do not watch anything. Most of the people are either going for YouTube or Instagram when they are doing something like that. And apart from that, like when you go and sit, you are like, okay, let's do something. Okay, you cannot sit idle. That patience, you just want something, you are not patient now, right? So you click on that application, and what I get is I see this button of reels. Sometimes I don't even click on those buttons. I'm just scrolling Instagram and I start seeing reels, and when I click to just on one reel, all the reels start popping up. So of course, like this happens. And
Okay, so in simple terms, I'll explain you why.
hmm,
Okay, as a human being, we always want to be entertained.
yes,
Always.
yes,
We cannot sit bored.
okay.
Okay.
Now we are like that.
Boredom is our enemy,
Okay, now it
right?
is.
And whenever we see something interesting,
Hmm.
we find that kick, right? It helps me. Basically we want entertainment,
Hmm.
right? Now there are thousands of ways to get entertained.
100%.
You can go for movies, you can play music, you can play some instrument, you can sing, you can talk to people, you can watch something. Watch in the sense, go to a zoo and park. You can maybe go to a lake, do kayaking, do boating. You can do painting. Hundreds of things are available. You can read a book. Not for everybody, but you can if people are interested. So hundreds and thousands of things are there to do this.
Okay.
But now Instagram does this in a click, right?
The resistance is very less between the user's thumb and the application, right?
So now our brain has been trained that by using this minimum energy, we can get maximum value out of it. As from the entertainment perspective, we'll get all sort of hormones,
Yes,
right? Happy
exactly.
hormones
Of course.
in our mind just by clicking on reels.
Of
So
course.
that is the behavior that it has developed in our
Okay.
brain,
Yes.
and our brain has trained now.
Yes.
So you will click on reels all the time instead of doing anything else, because that is the most valuable thing with the minimum energy
Effort.
consumption,
Okay.
and that is how brain has been trained now.
Yes.
So that you will always do this. There is no getting out of this.
Yes.
But when you think about it from the value perspective, entertainment, see, a person cannot be entertained for 100 years,
Of course.
right? If you look at someone's life, he cannot spend his 100 years just getting entertained. He has to do a lot of things, right, in life. If you want to do something, build something, achieve your dreams, or travel, have
Of
some
course.
food, go there and there, find a life partner. Lot of things has to happen. You cannot just watch Instagram all the time.
100%. I was just saying it from a user's perspective that if you know about this thing, you should yourself be also a little aware of it. For example, what you did, you close the notification things, and I think which is a big leap when you are like, you have to make this leap of closing notifications of like different applications which annoy you and take your attention. So right now, because there are no ethical laws governing these bodies like Facebook and all that, they cannot take our attention. I hope there will be something like that in future, and I'm not justifying that in any way. I'm just saying that you should be right now aware. For example, let's say there's a fire breakout in a building. What's the first thing you'll do? Are you going to go and blame that person who started the fire, or are you going to escape the building? The first approach is to escape the building, so and save your life. So in the perspective of that thing, I was saying that I was not justifying it. And as you just said that thing about addiction, the next question that comes in my mind is, how can you achieve users engagement without encouraging addiction? Or is it a challenge in market that when you are like increasing engagement of user, you can make it less addictive also and more valuable? Is it a way?
See, that's the problem there, right there. Engagement.
Yes.
What does it mean? Why do you want to engage people?
Okay.
Right. If there is a value, you created something, and if it has value,
Okay.
people will automatically come. You just spread your words like, I created this and this is very good. You should do this, and people will start doing that. Eventually, organically, you will grow.
Yes.
But if you put engagement into that picture, I want to engage people, I want to build 1 million customers in a year, that's inorganic. That's very unnatural way of growing. Eventually your company will grow, you will have 1 million people, but the people who are working in your company, they will have no idea how to even work with that kind of people, work with that number, right? So engagement can be done. There are so many different ways nowadays. Engagement, you can do social media campaigns, right? But I don't think it's the right way to do this.
Even I don't think so.
From users UX perspective, being in this field, this is a very important I'll say rule for me, that don't try to engage people. Like, do this, please do this, oh, this is very good, do this. Don't do that. Engagement, I'm against that engagement.
Okay, the word engagement itself is kind of harmful.
Yeah.
Because as you said, that if there is a value in a product, people will find that product. For example, ChatGPT. Okay, I don't think so it makes you addictive to that application in any way. But when you go to that input bar and type your query, you get what is valuable or probably valuable to you, right? So something similar to Google search. But these are the ways of engaging user organically. I think
organically, if you the only way is to do something what people want, to give them something that they need. If you want to, for example, if you are, let's say if you are creating an application which will allow travelers to find good hidden travel destinations. So you are going to, let's say you are going to Kashmir, or you are going to Kanyakumari, right? And then you don't want to go to those travel, very, very specific points which everybody travels. You want to find some hidden gems. And now you are creating that application which will allow people to find that hidden gems in the different travel destinations. How will you create value? Right? The value is give people hidden gems, give people hidden places, right? In the best way possible.
So when you are creating this kind of application, isn't there any loss of that engagement? Like, okay, for let's say.
So I'll finish my thought. So now think about engagement. Right? Now engagement comes into the picture. You are creating an application
where people are coming for, even when they don't need to come. It's just aesthetically beautiful, and people start coming to that hidden gems and destroying that place. Is it what you're trying to say? Okay, please go.
So what I'm saying is, when you are, so suppose you have to create this application where people can find some hidden travel places, unusual, and now engagement comes into the picture. You have to engage 1 million people in a year. What will you do? What will you do is, you will start putting some trendy posts in this travel app. People can come here and they can find trendy memes, right? People can find maybe some addictive content, basically, right, which will make them addicted. Now, is that valuable for people? No. What they want to do is, they want to find some hidden gems, and what you are giving them is some addictive content. So that is not the right way to build any kind of a platform. When you want to build a useful platform which is good for people, you have to do it the right way, instead of just reaching out for that engagement or finding out like 100 million people. What Disney is doing right now, what Disney is doing is, they lot of customers, right, and people are just moving away from the platform. They are saying, I'm not going to pay any money because there is no content. Why should I pay all that money just to watch Disney content, which is not even good nowadays? I don't want to go into that, but so the content is not that great. And now what Disney team is suggesting is that we will start streaming cricket for free. Just to get Indian customers. So people in India, they can watch cricket for free, and that's how they are trying to get that engagement that you are talking about. So they will build engagement. But when World Cup is gone, people will go away.
Yes.
Right? They will not stay. So the So now the difference. First, you didn't have people. You had Disney content. People are not coming.
Okay.
You started streaming cricket. People are coming. Now you stopped streaming content. People went away. There is no difference. There is no delta between first and last. So why will people stay?
Okay.
Right. So that is the basic logic here.
Okay.
You cannot build any engagement with fake content. You should not be building engagement at all. You should be building a good product
which is valuable.
You should be building a value for the users.
Okay. The second last question is, do you think there should be ethical laws governing these bodies related to the kind of engagement they get from the user? Like, for example, there should be kind of a law that says if media is X amount of addictive, or if at least 70% of the population is using it 3 hours a day, there should be laws saying that no, this is not right, and if they are not getting enough value for it, okay, there should be a value exchange. And if there's not enough value for it and they are doing doom scroll or something like that, it'll going to affect their mental health, and people should these companies should ban the accounts which use more than 3 hours, or maybe deactivate it for a while. Of course, that's not I personally don't think it's the right approach, but what's your perspective on it?
So the first thought that comes to mind is it's a very challenging situation. It's not an easy one sentence solution. Right? You cannot solve this in a matter of minutes, hours or days. Lot of big people from different industries and government have to come together and find out some sort of solution. I don't know what kind of solution, but I think the same thing happened with a game which was played, and people were playing 5 to 6 hours every day.
I don't know that.
There was a Chinese game,
PUBG.
Okay. So that was banned.
I never played that, so.
Okay, so I don't know. There was a reason. Government says that cyber security was the reason, but I think addiction was a very big reason. People were spending so much time on that, and government saw that they are spending all that time, and if people of a country spend 5 hours playing games,
the youth of the country,
how will that country grow?
Yeah.
Right. So definitely there has to be some laws, but at the same time, if you think from Instagram or Facebook perspective, Instagram is not a platform where one company is creating all the content and everybody is watching it. It's like everybody is creating content and everybody is watching it, and then there is also a market where people are promoting their hotels and services and products. So there it has become like a big marketplace now. So if you think it from the TV perspective, like there is Netflix and Prime and so many streaming services, how is it different from those content? Like I honestly spent like 5 or 6 hours on Sundays just watching TV. So you cannot ban people from watching TV, right? Then why will you ban people from watching Instagram?
Of course.
There is no difference.
Yes.
Now you can do something about it. You can make people aware that please don't do this.
Okay.
Right? Just like government has not stopped, like not even a single country in whole earth has stopped selling alcohol. All they can do is run a campaign. Please don't drink it.
Okay.
Don't drink and drive.
Yes.
Right? You should not be drinking.
And
like
the places where it is banned, like the cities, the states, let's say Bihar, okay, in the states they are banned, people still smuggle that, right? Direct cocaine is also banned in whole India, I guess, right? So, but still people do consume that, right? People still smoke weed. So people will do what they want to. You cannot tell people what they should be doing. It's just you can spread awareness, and maybe like the bodies which own the most about of it, for example Facebook whatever, Instagram and anything like Meta's, every company almost, right? So what you can do is like you have to design a user experience or UI in a particular way, or maybe there will be warnings after this amount of time that you have to, just like smoking, right? You get warned every time you see somebody smoking on big screen, there's a warning in the corner says that.
So that has already been done.
Okay.
So Apple and Google, the major operating systems in phone market, Android and iOS, both have done it already. I don't know about iPhone. I don't use iPhone, but in Android it's called digital well-being, and in iPhone it is called something else. I don't know, but it is there. And what it does is it allows you to define for how many hours do you want to spend on an app.
Okay, is it?
And if you specify that, okay, I'll spend only half an hour on Instagram every day, then after half an hour it will just pause automatically. It will not allow you. There is a bypass. You can again do it, but there is some. Even if you do this, right, you are self-aware that there is a problem with me and I am trying to solve it.
Yes.
Right. And Google has done a good job of doing this, definitely.
How?
But people are not.
How it has done a good job?
I would say if Google was not thinking about people more, spending more time on applications, if they're not thinking about that, then they would not release this feature. They released this feature, they made it work really great, and it's very easy to use. And you can, like the thing that I'm saying, like you can pause an application, you can specify 1 hour, 2 hour you want to spend.
Yes.
Doing all those things is very easy. And the only thing is that people are not aware of this.
Yes.
Like these features are not marketed well. Like if Xiaomi or Redmi is selling a phone on market, they will not specify there is a digital well-being feature. They would talk about RAM and screen size and camera. And digital well-being feature has been marketed by Google directly on their launch.
And I think even Apple has done a little this thing, similar thing when they launched.
Yes, but Apple definitely, if you see their ads, they will not specify that there is a feature where you can pause app.
Yes.
It's a hidden feature, but you should start using it if you want.
Yes, and I think there should be, like when you are buying a new phone, there should be things that whenever you install a new application, you should define how much time you are going to use it per day, and you should be aware of it. And if you exceed that limit, at least if you are not getting banned from the app or something like that, at least you should have this thing that okay, you are now aware that you have passed your limit, and there should be a notification, and then 5 minutes pause, and then you can think if you have to use it again. Maybe somebody is finding value in that application in that particular moment. There could be situations like that, but yes, in long term, like doing that every day may not be working in a positive way for everyone.
I will say the very first step is that if you want to control your phone usage, start monitoring how many notifications, what kind of notifications you are getting on your phone, and start disabling those. Even like Flipkart, you don't need Flipkart and Amazon notifications.
Not even Rapido.
Right. Like some deal is going on, you don't need those notifications. Start disabling those notifications. One by one you should start doing that, and soon you will end up with only 2 or 3 kind of notifications which you actually need. And then your phone usage time will drastically reduce.
I 100% agree with that, because since I've stopped stopped the notification on Instagram, I think I find so much value in other applications. Let's say YouTube. I use the YouTube application most, and most of the content that I see on YouTube is mostly very valuable. They're not some funny shorts, and I don't have any problem with the people who create it, but I have the problem of me scrolling that every day for 3 hours, right? So that's the big thing. And yes, I mean, I 100% agree with what you have just said, and there should be kind of more emphasis on digital well-being, because it's a big deal, because the generation which is coming next to us are going to be familiar with this kind of technology since they are born. We were not born with an iPhone in hand, but the generation which is going to come, they'll be having this kind of internet influence on them, right? And what it matters a lot what kind of content they watch, and what kind of content you want them to watch, right? As a parent, you have all the rights towards growing your children, what they can and they cannot watch. Even if somebody else says you that this is not true, that you should not be monitoring it, but I think as a parents you have all the responsibility and all the rights you should be, right? So the last question that I want to come up with is, how do you see the future of human and technology interaction? For example, now we are having technology such as gesture control. Okay, and upcoming time we are having Oculus glasses by Meta and all these things. So now we can control technology with just our voice. We can say okay Google and it will listen to us, right? And so we are kind of surrounded by technologies. So how these gestures and how these things are going to evolve over time, and are we going to move from touching our screen to just looking into screen, or maybe just thinking about it? Like how do you see the future of human and the technology interaction?
It's a, I mean, I think you saved the hardest question for the last. So this is it's a hard one to think about when you want to define. I mean, predicting future is always difficult because you don't know what's happening, and technology is evolving in so rapid pace. Like you don't even know. Like
100%.
It may have, I think it may have happened with a lot of people that they were thinking about some idea and they see that after 7 days they see the same idea in Play Store or websites or somewhere. Right? It happens all the time. So our technology is evolving in a rapid pace, and even the platforms, right? If you see there is a new company, I am forgetting their name. A lot of employees of that company are from Apple.
I think you're talking about Humane. So the founder of that company was from the one who designed iPhone, right?
Yes. So I'm talking about Humane. So they are coming with a new device, which is completely interactionless.
Yes.
So you don't have to even hold that device. You have to just keep it in your pocket, and it works with your voice, and it doesn't even have a screen.
You can,
right? So you have that. Then you have Apple's Vision Pro, which is completely different than previous generation VR headsets.
Okay.
Right, and then you have Microsoft, so HoloLens, which is again enterprise solution, but that's another way to look at it. So there are a lot of different things happening, and then there is AI. Right, AI is all about text and getting answers. But the applications are really rusted. If you see Photoshop, in Photoshop now the AI feature is so good that you can you can do changes within seconds, which used to take like 5 or 6 hours.
Yes, 100%.
So you can do that.
Yes.
So if you talk about next 10 years, not a lot will change.
Okay.
AI could change. Like you will see a lot of AI in different things. Like you may see, imagine that you are chatting with somebody and then he sends a message. Now you are clicking on text box to reply, and then you see that the whole reply is there already.
Yeah.
Right. So do you want that? You don't want that. Maybe you want that. Maybe you don't want. But you can see those kind of interactions.
Yes.
There was a video circulating on LinkedIn where there was a salesperson from Tesla. It was an AI robot talking to a customer, and the way that sales rep was talking to that customer, it was so natural that customer didn't know that it's a robot. It's a bot. So you could see a lot of sales calls happening by AI. I have recently seen in Indigo they have integrated voice enabled interaction, so you don't have to press 1, 2, 3 on your phone. You can directly talk what you want, and bot will reply to you what you want. So you can see all those changes happening slowly, but I don't think there will be a drastic change. I mean, small changes will happen, just like you remember 3D TV came in 2012.
No, nobody buys that.
Right. So it was a boom and everybody thought 3D will be a good thing. Then curved TV came.
Yes.
Curved displays are still there, but it's not a mass adoption.
Okay.
Right. So you will see changes, but I don't think a lot will happen in future. Like it's okay. Things are going fine, and displays can be folded. Nothing else will happen.
Samsung Galaxy Z Fold,
I don't think there is anything major happening in next 10 years. But yeah, flying cars can happen.
Okay. If
In
they
10
become
years.
noiseless, I guess.
Flying cars will happen.
Yes.
It's already started.
I know that.
Dubai and even in Bangalore, some cars are flying now.
Oh, I never saw a flying car here, but if I can land it on the top of this building, that would be great.
No, it will be more of a flying taxi. People will not be allowed to buy flying cars because I don't think everybody can do that.
Yes.
People
What
are
about
still
privacy?
struggling with driving. They shouldn't be doing this in 3D.
Now you're targeting people. You should not do this. Okay. That was a great conversation with you. I learned a lot about the perspective of social media and how they get designed. And I hope we'll come back again to you after some time. This might not be our last podcast. This might be our first podcast, but not the last one. So thanks for giving us your valuable time. And yeah, this is Ansh Jaiswal signing off. See you again.
Thank you for having me.
It was great having you, sir.
Thank you.